Hi. Okay. There are two more things, yeah, about how to build better relations with the media. Again, I repeat. First is to research the targeted media. Then we talked about researching and engaging the expanded press, and then responding to media calls, preparing for media interview. Now, number five is gauging success. Okay, gauge, GAUG, gauging success. Now, gauge means to measure, yeah, or in other words, evaluate, yeah, PR efforts. So measurement is now mostly uh, it becomes an important part in the PR process. You know, your RACE, ROPE, it ends with an E, yeah. So E is evaluation, yeah. It is unfortunate to say that before this, people tend to not go to this last step, yeah. But now it has become something important, yeah, for PR practitioners to follow through. Okay, so um, measurement or evaluation now has been transformed, because there are now already a lot of communication tools that are designed to help, yeah, practitioners do this. Okay, um, and of course a lot of these tools are online based, yeah, ataupun it uses the digital media platforms. Okay, now, so while most communication professionals still believe, yeah, our main practice is that we use the media placement, yeah, as an indicator of the success of our campaign, yeah. But now most PR specialists agree, yeah, that as in another thing that is important is the knowledge and insights, yeah, about those placements. Yeah, these are equally important. Okay, now when I say media mentions, it's not just counting how many media mentions here. Sometimes we need to know the size to know its equivalent value of the mention. Okay, all right. So there are a wide variety of analytical services and techniques that you can use. Here, this is publicly available online. Yeah, the most common to our communication field is to gauge, to measure, yeah, media placements. We call it as advertising value equivalent, yeah, AVEs, yeah. Basically we measure the length of our story in the newspaper. For example, is if it's 4 by 8 or uh, whatever size it is, and then you compare that to an advertisement price, sorry, if it were to be placed in the same newspaper. So that way you know that that certain amount of coverage is equivalent to a certain value in ringgit Malaysia. Okay, so there are also things, other tools here that are used to do this. For example, the Canada's Media Relations Rating Points System, or MRRP. You can also use internal reviews, yeah, to give value to your mentions, benchmarking, and then now you can do opinion polling online, as well as other specialist media evaluation tools. Okay, so we are not going to go into these tools specifically. It is sufficient at this point of time you know that this tool exists, and should you require to use it, you will need to learn, yeah, how to use specific tools to help you measure your coverage, yeah. But at this point of time, just understand that there are tools that can help you do it, yeah, to translate, yeah, the value of your media relations effort. Okay, now of course there are, as I mentioned, a lot of digital tools here. This is especially useful to measure or gauge your digital campaigns, yeah, things that you do online, yeah, social media awareness campaign, etc. So digital campaigns in particular now can be measured using tools such as Cloud, yeah, KLOUT, Cloud, yeah. This tool or application, yeah, can be used to measure levels of online influence on Facebook or Twitter, yeah. And there are also things such as Google Analytics, Okay, Google Analytics will measure the percentages, measure the frequency, the hits on your video, or and percentages of views, etc. You know, cloud you can use to measure your influence on social media, for example Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Yeah, it gives you score on how many percentage of viewing and also reviews that you get for your postings. Yeah, and what topics that you are influential in. Okay. Now, the amount of ink here that a company gets, amount of ink means media mentioned in the newspaper, yeah, or broadcast. Okay, it does not indicate whether you have achieved your communication objective or not. Yes, you get newspaper coverage, but how effective is that means of communication is what is more important in that spirit. Okay, so not only it is important for you to find out how many hits you receive, but it is equally important that you keep records of all these hits. Yeah, looking at not only where your ink has landed ataupun the where your stories has been mentioned, but also how well does this messages or the company's key messages are well communicated. Okay, now this of course all this information can be useful for you to improve your companies or organizations companies media relations. Yeah, of course within the company, but these measurements result also allow the company to benchmark, yeah, against those of your competitors. Okay, so for example, if you were to uh, count, yeah, how many hits your company receive, at the same time you are also able to count how many mentions that your competitors receive. So in that sense you already have a comparison in terms of the number of mentions. But again, if you were to translate that later in an amount that is equivalent to money, you can then compare, yeah, perhaps what your competitor gains and as compared to what you have gained, yeah, for that certain period of month. For example, if you were to measure it monthly or quarterly. Okay, um, of course, this media tracking mechanism will then help your corporate com executive or your corporate com department, yeah, to ignite change and improvement in your media relations department. Of course, if you can already see how well your competitors are doing, for example, you may want to gear up, yeah, your media relations effort, and also perhaps diversify, find a new way, make it more interesting, etc. So it gives you a platform to compare not only your work but compare it to other people's work. Okay, now this media monitoring, as we have discussed, yeah, will give you the power to identify, yeah, which communication activities that creates the most value in terms of specific business outcome. Now this means that you can then prioritize what communication activities works best for you, and maybe you would want to put more resources into it rather than putting resources on the least working, yeah, technique. So it saves budget, it saves energy, of course, yeah, and it also minimize, yeah, work redundancy. This media monitoring also will be able to help you evaluate how well your organization various communication functions perform, yeah, against an industry average. So it lets you in on what's the in thing, what maybe you should let go at this point of time, yeah, that may not be contributing, yeah, to your media relations success. Of course, it also helps you demonstrate the total value, yeah, that is created by the corporate com department or your unit, yeah, in terms of one or more business outcomes. Sometimes when you report to the top management, they only want to see figures, numbers. So if you are able to convert the value of your media relations activities into ringgit, then you would be able to present a better in digits. Okay, This monitoring will also help you drive strategic and tactical, or make strategic and tactical decisions in your upcoming communication. Okay, it helps you hedge reputational risk, manage major events such as merger, change in top management, etc. And at the end of the day, all this can also be used to highlight the actual corporate core value that is created by your communication activities, because as I've mentioned, people nowadays wants to see numbers. Okay, so it is also maybe better presented in numbers, especially when you are reporting to your investors. Okay. Next is to maintain this ongoing relationship. Now that you have researched them, you have targeted them, you have engaged with them, established a relationship. Now the challenging task is to maintain this, yeah, ongoing relationship. Now this is by far the most critical component in media relations, yeah. Not after developing and maintaining, yeah. Because building and maintain close relationship is, of course, we have known this, yeah, it is a prerequisite, yeah, for generating coverage. You cannot simply turn on and off the relationship with the media, and um, choose to only use them in times of crisis. You know, this doesn't work anymore. I've told you many times in class that you should not make them apa ni, your best friends only in times of crisis, but you should develop this gradually, yeah. And then again, do not turn the relationship with media on and off. Okay, so instead of that, what you need to do is, the firm needs to work on a long-term relationship with the right journalists, yeah. For your specific industry, remember we said you need to target the right people, so the right journalists, yeah. So of course this usually means meeting the reporters, out of the blue, just to, bukan out of the blue, but just to make goodwill. Okay, don't only meet them when you need something from them. Okay, so what you can do is invite them for tours to your factory, to your headquarters, have a lunch or dinner gathering with the media. Don't do it don't do it of course, don't do it too regularly, but don't also do it once in a while, yeah. Maybe once a year or twice a year, but try to get them involved, yeah. Constantly, yeah. But again, to the point of, you don't want to annoy them and ask them for out for lunch or dinner every once a week, okay. And of course, once in a while, accept rejections, yeah, because they tend to say no, yeah, because of their deadlines, and when there are other important issues that are surrounding the country, for example, they may rebuff you, from time to time. They may get you may get, turned down for your lunch offers several times, yeah. uh, uh, Perhaps not only due to their busy schedule, yeah, but also sometimes you need to understand them that they may be more receptive, yeah, for an interview through the phone rather than meeting you one on one. Okay.